This episode of I Am Salt Lake Podcast is proudly sponsored by Jed's Barbershop. With 3 locations, you have no reason to not always look your best. Go get a haircut, a beard trim, or even a straight razor shave. Jed's Barbershop is open 7 days a week, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., Saturday, 9 to 7, and Sunday, 12 to 5. Their newest location is located at 167 East, 900 South, right next to Randy's Records. They also have a location downtown at 212 South, 700 East, and up in Sugar House at 2153 East, 2100 South. No appointment is necessary. Just show up, get yourself a haircut. Maybe you have a last-minute date or a job interview. Jed's Barbershop is the place for you. Head on over to their website at jedsbarbershop.com for more information.
Showcasing local talent, professionals, and everyday people, making Salt Lake City what it is today. It's time for another episode of the I Am Salt Lake Podcast.
Welcome to episode 291 of I Am Salt Lake Podcast. My name's Chris Hollifield.
And I'm Chrissy Hollifield.
Today on the podcast, we sit down and chat with Zell Lee, owner of Asana Natural Arts. We get a chance to find out her story. We find out how Asana Natural Arts started. We find out all about her products, her love of butterflies, and how she took her hobby and turned it into a full-time job.
And her knowledge of butterflies and insects is so crazy.
You would have never guessed.
No, I mean, she really knows her stuff.
Such an amazing conversation. We're going to get into that here in just a minute. Before we do that, I want to let you know that the Best of Utah 2017 Readers Poll is open. This is your chance to vote for all of your favorite things here in Utah, including Best Podcast. They remembered to add that category this year. So if you could take a few minutes and vote for I Am Salt Lake Podcast for your favorite podcast, for the best podcast in Utah, it would mean the world to both of us. You can cast your vote by going to iamsaltlake.com/bestofutah2017. I'll also put that link in the show notes for this episode. And if you could do it soon, I believe voting goes until September 12th. Yeah. If I'm not mistaken, I read that somewhere.
Just in case, maybe do it like in the next week or two, or right now while you're listening.
While you're listening is the best bet. Tell your family and friends to do it as well. Hey, so from time to time, we all run into those events that we're looking for a photographer. We need a photographer. Whether it's a family get-together, you're looking for some headshots, or if you're like us, we're looking for a wedding photographer.
And we found a really good one.
We want to invite you to check out the photography of local photographer Amanda DeWolf. She took all of her wedding pictures, and I know that I seriously couldn't be any happier with the way they came out. You could check out all of her work by going to her website, amandakmemories.com. It's where you can get in touch. You can see her photos. Again, the website is Amanda K Memories. That's Amanda K-A-Y memories.com. All right, let's jump into that conversation that we had with Zell Lee from Asana Natural Arts when she came over to our office and shared her story. Enjoy. Thank you so much for listening. I always like to kind of go back, find out where's home, where you grew up. Are you from Salt Lake City? Where's home for you?
So I'm a Utah native, but I'm from Provo, the bubble.
It happens.
Oh,
It happens. Everybody we bring on here anymore, Utah County. And I know I've said that in the intro in the beginning. It's kind of funny how all these Utah County people have come up to Salt Lake.
Well, you grow up and you kind of want to see what other things are like. Provo's such a unique place. There's nowhere else like it.
It's changed a lot, just like Salt Lake has, just within the last 10 years, too. But I love living in Salt Lake. So Utah County, I'm trying to think, you probably were down there because we're probably pretty close. I don't know. We don't need to get into all that. You never asked
the lady her age.
No, we don't need to get into all that. But because when I moved to Utah County over 20 years ago, again, I know I've talked about this on the podcast, it was a lame place to live. It was boring. There wasn't a lot to do. But now it's a lot better.
I had a great upbringing. I did grow up LDS, but I really enjoy the outdoors and all the awesome things Utah has to offer. I was snowboarding. I was able to get the canyons offered a honor student season's pass for $100.
Oh, wow.
And so every year in high school, I would be snowboarding in the winter, and then in the summer, I'm hiking, and I love to travel. I was in a lot of clubs that allowed me to travel. I would compete in these leadership clubs. And I'm a hard worker. I was very motivated. That hasn't really changed. Growing up in Provo was fun it was a good place to grow up in for the time.
What brought you to Salt Lake then?
After I graduated from BYU, I wanted to continue traveling and do some seasonal work. So I started working at Snowbird, and I was a tram driver at Snowbird. I went up to Alaska, and I went back and forth from Snowbird to Alaska for a couple years. And then I started working on my business. I got the idea when I was in Alaska, and I was researching things, and then I slowly started working on it. When I came back to Utah and I was working on it on the side, I got a day job and was just working on it on the side for years.
Where in Alaska were you at?
Skagway.
Are you familiar? Because you have a sister in Alaska.
I have a sister up there, but I don't know Alaska. I've visited, but yeah.
It's a big place.
I've never been at all.
It's beautiful.
What did you do up there?
Yeah, I was going to say, back up a little bit. What took you to Alaska? Just being into the outdoors and loving nature, or?
Yeah, so I got a job being a glass-blowing tour guide. It was awesome.
A glass-blowing tour
guide.
I would just stay there and do that forever. That sounds awesome.
So I worked at Jewel Gardens, and it was a garden, and the tour was a little tea party, and then you go around the garden, and a glass-blowing studio was there. So I was ecstatic to get the job because I learned how to glass blow. I was paid to learn, and I was the glass blowing assistant. There's the lead glass blower, but they need help as they're blowing their glass. And I'm giving the tour at the same time. So it was a 3-hour tour because Skagway is a big cruise ship destination. There would be about 3 to 5 ships in at any given day in the summertime. And I would give 2 to 3 tours a day. And I'd meet people from all over. So it was awesome.
Now, what glass blowing? The only kind of glass I'm familiar that you blow is like the tobacco pipes, we call them, right? You don't smoke tobacco out of them.
They used to show it on like Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood.
Glass blowing.
Like they would blow glass orbs and stuff and make decorations.
Like what kind of glass were you like?
So it's bigger stuff. The vases and bowls, much bigger pieces.
Oh, wow.
And they use totally different equipment.
So not like the little pieces that you would smoke out of, right? Not like
correct. Yeah, that's actually a different type of blowing glass. They use totally different.
That's the only kind of stuff I'm familiar with. I'm just trying to understand.
Right. Totally. Yeah.
So it allowed me to get outdoors and travel, enjoy the seasonal work, and kind of be an artist at the same time. So
what made you decide to come back to Utah and kind of keep your feet grounded here?
Well, I'll back up a little bit. When I graduated from BYU, I wanted to celebrate, so I took myself on a cruise. My mom went with me, and it was just a short cruise off of Key West, Florida. Is one of the destinations we went to, and there was a butterfly attraction as one of the activities to do off of this cruise. And so we went, and it was the most amazing experience ever. If you're familiar with it, there's more in the U.S. now that is like a tourist attraction. They create an artificial house for these international butterflies. And you walk inside and they're flying all around you. You can see them come out of the cocoons and chrysalises. There's a little viewing area. It's really neat. And then afterwards, we saw the gift shop, and all the beautiful butterflies that were just swarming around us were preserved in these shadow boxes in their gift shop. And I was just struck. I loved it. I love nature and being outdoors. And I learned all about butterfly preservation farms. And that really resided with me. So after graduating BYU, I did the cruise and came back, worked at Snowbird. That brought me up to Salt Lake. And then I went up to Skagway, Alaska. And that experience was still kind of working in my brain and residing with me. And I started researching how I can get butterflies and maybe if I could start working with the butterflies. It was just so cool. I couldn't get over it.
There's something about the way that butterfly wings look. It's unlike anything else.
Yeah.
The way the light plays on it and everything, it's one of those things that really will stick with you forever when you see it up close.
Yeah. And I've learned a ton about butterflies, which I can get into more later. But after Alaska, I came back and worked at Snowbird again, and I'm still researching and started making products on the side. And I eventually got a day job at a university after Snowbird, but I basically stayed in Utah, and I was just very driven to make this business work where eventually it could be my full-time job, which it is now. And I had also met my boyfriend before I went to Alaska, so I wanted to get back to him. So I kind of stayed in Utah for the last 7 years.
Because of him?
Yeah, and I definitely came back for him, but I love Utah.
Oh, Utah's a beautiful
I've traveled
state.
a ton, but Utah's always been home, and I just love it.
Now, what did you go to BYU for? I don't think you mentioned that, did you?
My bachelor's degree was in anthropology. So because I love to travel, I just loved experiencing cultures, different ways of living, and that was also very inspirational to me too.
Sure.
I was interested in being some type of travel guide or being an anthropologist. You just go immerse yourself in different cultures, and then you can write reports about it. And I loved a lot of cultures. Some ways for them to survive is to open up to the tourist scene. And so, for example, I did my research project at the Polynesian Cultural Center in Hawaii, and they recreate 7 different islands, and you can go talk with natives and learn their craft at this tourist attraction. And I thought it was really interesting how cultures, some of the only ways for them to survive and maintain that culture is almost by exploiting it. It's a good and a bad thing.
Wow.
That is really interesting, especially in today's world. I never thought about that.
So to fast forward a little bit here to kind of get into the Asana Natural Arts, that's the name of your company.
Yes.
Right? What got you interested in jewelry making and all of that? Because you mentioned the butterflies, which got incorporated into your jewelry. But when did your interest in jewelry making, when did that happen for you?
So we do make jewelry, and we also make framed art. We put the whole butterflies in shadow boxes.
True, yeah.
So our first products actually were the shadow boxes. And my mom, who went on the cruise with me, is the one who helped me start it. So she's been super helpful. We made our own barnwood frames, and she's really good at doing flower arrangements. Before we even encountered the butterfly attraction, we were making flower arrangements in barnwood frames. So our first product we came out with was just incorporating the butterfly in this nature scene that we were kind of already creating. I did the Beehive Bazaar down in Provo. Yeah. I've always been pretty crafty. I was doing other farmers markets with other things. I'm a seamstress, and I was making other things. But our first butterfly product was that nature scene. And then since then, we've branched into other shadow boxes and larger shadow boxes. But for years, I didn't want to make jewelry. In the end, you have to listen to your customer, because that's what people kept asking me. So I finally listened. It took
Why
enough
didn't you want to
times.
make jewelry, though? What?
I feel like there's a lot of competition in jewelry. So it makes it hard to get into festivals to begin with. Each show has a jury, and there's only a certain number of booths for each category. Jewelry is the most competitive category.
So you didn't want to be known as the jewelry person, You wanted to be known for something else.
Like the artist.
The artist.
Working with butterflies has to be intensely difficult because they're so fragile, it seems.
Well, and I've never seen, is there other people that do similar type things as you? I've never seen it.
Yeah, there's always competition.
Sure.
But everybody has their own style. So I've never worried about being copied. I'm always looking ahead. I never look back. I did bring some products to show. So
my question, dealing with butterflies, I'm just going to lay this on the table, and I apologize if this is a
blunt,
have you dealt with animal rights people at all?
Yeah, so probably.
I'm curious with that one, just because it popped in my head.
Being an artist has its challenges.
Yeah.
But probably the hardest thing that I have to deal with over and over again is that people think we kill the butterflies. And I love butterflies, so it's really hard to be prejudged. But I get it. People are just kind of making assumptions. And so I take more of an education approach, because all they have to do is learn that I don't kill them and they come from farms. So I'll talk a little more about that. I mentioned earlier the tourist butterfly attraction we went to, and that was open to the public. As I was researching, when I wanted to start my business, I found that there's other butterfly farms which are in the rainforest in their native land all over the world, and they're not open to the public. It's because they're
just to preserve those species?
They're in the middle of the rainforest, in the middle of nowhere. Most people aren't around these places anyways, but their primary purpose is to protect their land. So the biggest threat of butterflies is loss of habitat. When we keep cutting down trees, they have nowhere to live. There's no host plants for them to survive on. There's also a lot of things that they could maybe die from in the wild, that in a farm, since it's a more of a controlled environment, they increase the butterfly survival rate from less than 5% to over 80% in farms. So I get from farms, their primary purpose is to protect their environment. They live and die naturally on the farm. And when they die, then they sell them to buyers like me. And it's all regulated. So I have a license with U.S. Fish and Wildlife, and they are licensed as well. Each country kind of has their own sort of regulations. So it's a process, it's regulated, and the butterflies are benefiting from this. And now I turn the butterfly into artwork, and we get to benefit from their beauty. So I just try and take that education approach, and every product I make comes with an information card. It talks about the butterfly they get and more details about the farms. And I get hundreds of butterflies from hundreds of farms all over the world. So it's really neat when people, it's like a switch in their eyes. When they first come into my booth, they're judging and they're sad, and kids are the funniest because they say things most adults might not.
They'll be pretty straightforward.
They're very straightforward.
They're honest, right? You know,
Yeah.
How did she get these?
So I just explain it, and then it's like a light switch, and they go from sad to being really, really excited.
Sure.
And that's awesome because I'm excited about it. And then once they are on board, then they start observing the butterflies and getting all into it just like I am. And it's really cool.
So how does it work? I'm curious, and you don't have to give any trade secrets or anything, but like, is there a catalog or online? Like, do you get to pick what your butterflies look like, or do they just ship you a big container?
Just a bunch of dead butterflies once a week?
I order specific butterflies.
Okay, I didn't know how that worked. I was like, well, how does that work? You know?
So you're very familiar with the different breeds of butterflies and which ones you prefer to work with.
Yes.
That's cool.
I know the names of every butterfly, all the characteristics. It's really cool. The more you learn, humans can learn so much from nature. And actually, they do. Scientists study butterflies and other insects and in nature on how they survive and why they are in certain ways. And we learn from them, and they apply that in science and everything. It's really cool.
That's really so. Back up a little bit. When did your company start, the Asana Natural Arts? When did that start for you? Back in like
2010.
2010. So
August 2010. It's actually
7 years. So a little while.
Wow. And I know it's been 5-year anniversary for you.
5-year anniversary for the podcast.
August is a big month.
Is August your anniversary month too?
Yeah, because I started my business 7 years ago in August.
Wow. See, so you're no newbie in this. You've been around. You've seen it. Like, what was the hardest thing with getting all of this going for you? What was the biggest obstacle? Yeah.
Jinx.
Yeah.
Okay.
What was that for you 7 years ago?
Number one, finding the butterflies and making sure I'm getting from viable sources to make sure that what I say is legit.
You probably had to research a lot into the farms.
And then working through getting licensed and the customs, and when parcels come in, I'm importing insects. It's several months. It takes a long time to get the butterflies. So that was a process. I also...
and you had no idea what you were going to do with them though, really, right? You were just like, you start importing them. It's probably you running into some obstacles and you're like, oh, is this worth it? Should I keep doing this?
Yeah. Well, since I was doing it on the side, I just wanted to make it. And I thought it would be really neat if it could be a source of income down the road. But the key is that I started slow. So I maintained a day job and I do this on the side. So what happened is, as I'm starting to make products, my boyfriend helped me maximize the space. We were only in a 2-bedroom apartment, and we just had 1 bedroom, which I also now had to have a workspace. And he built me a loft. Well, so we slept on top of the loft, and my workspace was underneath the loft. And then our desk, we built a desk. It's just storage bins, and we got a $20 door at Home Depot. So I built a desk for $20, and it's actually the desk I still use today.
That's so rad.
So small beginnings, and it's kind of funny when I think back on how much it's grown. So the obstacles is finding my resources, and I'm 100% self-taught, so I make a lot of mistakes, especially at the beginning. I still do, but I start to develop my skill set over time. And also just figuring out the whole art scene. There's a lot to learn when it comes to art festivals and selling online, and I also wholesale. I do all 3 markets, which really helps balance me throughout the year. But there's a lot to learn with each one of those markets.
Did you first start selling online first, or did you do a festival first?
I started selling on Etsy and doing farmers markets. I remember one of the first fine arts festivals that I did. I was still such a newbie. I didn't know I needed weights on my tent. And I was at the Moab Arts Festival.
Oh, wow.
That's a rough first lesson.
They can get wind gusts up to 50 miles an hour. And we definitely had some wind. And my tent, I just bought this tent. And at the beginning, you're poor and every dollar matters. So I bought this $100 tent. And the very next day, I'm at the festival and the wind catches it and it basically folded in half. The legs, the metal folded over onto my neighbor's tent. It was very embarrassing.
Oh man.
Did you lose a lot of product?
Yeah.
Wow.
Did it just fly away? Because obviously your product's kind of built to fly. So seems like if some wind came up,
Built to fly. Right?
yeah.
Yeah. So I've lost products and I've learned things along the way. So as long as you're learning from them, it's discouraging at the moment, but it's helps me grow and made me what I am today.
So you mentioned that you didn't do jewelry then at first?
So the first 2 years, I'm still kind of doing it on the side, but I was doing some shows and selling on Etsy. I was only doing shadow boxes. It took me about 2 years before I started branching into jewelry making.
Okay.
And you got a lot of requests.
Yeah.
It sounds like.
Yeah.
From people.
But how would that even come to somebody's mind, though?
Women love to wear pretty things.
And so they're just like,
if you see a pretty thing in a box, you want to take it out of the box and put it on you.
Yeah, I guess I just don't think of it. Oh, can you put this on a jewelry and some earrings?
Yeah, it applies very well in the jewelry, and it is really unique jewelry. So
Sure.
It is. And you feel it's very natural, obviously. And so there's something to it that is so unique, and you feel like it's just different than having some gold jewelry or some sparkly something. You also make beetle earrings, which look so cool.
So we mostly work with butterflies, but I've branched out into other things. The beetle wing earrings, we work with grasshoppers and cicadas, moths and scorpions. So
it's just so fascinating that you can take these
earrings?
Not earrings. I've only put scorpions in shadow boxes thus far.
Yeah,
I thought you were going to say scorpions in shoe boxes, or put them in
live scorpions.
Yeah, I sell live scorpions. You can put them in your husband's shoes to scare him or something. Gosh,
every insect is very fragile. And for a while, I was also really scared to branch into the other insects. I was intimidated.
Why? What was just the unknown?
So when butterflies or insects die, their wings close up around their body, and it's a process to spread them back open before I can mount them in the shadow box.
Okay.
Do they become petrified? Or not petrified? What's the word? Like stiff?
They are stiff.
Rigor mortis-y?
They are stiff, and the wings are crumpled or not in the right place. And so it's a hydration process. I spread it, then it dries again in the spread form the way I want it.
Wow.
And then I mount it. And if I'm putting anything else in the shadow box, I have to preserve that as well, because I do flowers, and a lot of my custom work, I'll incorporate quotes or even pictures. I've got lots of custom work. So there's a lot of preparation that goes into it before I even make the shadow box. But I was intimidated to spread the beetle, and that's the first thing I started branching out from after the butterfly, was spreading beetles. And one thing I didn't anticipate is their smell. Ooh. There's a smell when I'm spreading the insects. It's kind of interesting.
Wow. Like how would you just really horrible?
Death?
Am
I being too morbid?
think I can describe
but
it.
But like, it seems like, yeah, dead insect smell probably isn't pleasant.
Yeah, it's interesting because I wouldn't call myself a taxidermist. When I describe myself to other people, I kind of change up the wording depending on how I want to describe myself. But I've never liked saying taxidermist, because that's actually people who work with animals, and I'm more just on insects. But when I started spreading beetles and other insects that were more complicated and had the smell to them and everything, I was thinking, okay, this is kind of like taxidermy.
Well, it is. Do you have any interest in taxidermy?
No.
No? Let's actually take a quick break here really quick. We need to play a message from our sponsor. And then when we come back, we'll have some more questions for you. So hang tight. This episode of I Am Salt Lake Podcast is proudly sponsored by Jed's Barbershop. With 3 locations, you have no reason to not always look your best. Go get a haircut, a beard trim, or even a straight razor shave. Jed's Barbershop is open 7 days a week, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., Saturday, 9 to 7, and Sunday, 12 to 5. Their newest location is located at 167 East, 900 South, right next to Randy's Records. They also have a location downtown at 212 South, 700 East, and up in Sugar House at 2153 East, 2100 South. No appointment is necessary. Just show up, get yourself a haircut. Maybe you have a last-minute date or a job interview. Jed's Barbershop is the place for you. Head on over to their website at jedsbarbershop.com for more information. So my question, have you thought about like actually opening up your own shop, like a brick and mortar shop, or do you like kind of doing it the way you do it now?
I really like the way things are now. The nice thing about art shows is it takes me to different places.
Sure.
And so we go all over the West Coast. I just got back from a show in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. It was
you travel around the country a lot.
Yeah, we just got back 2 days ago. It was so awesome. So I like that. And that I feel like gives me more options and keeps my costs down, versus having a shop. I would be tied to having to be in the same spot all the time.
Well, plus you get to travel, see the land.
Yeah.
See, I mean, that's got to be great. I mean, and your boyfriend goes with you?
Yeah. So when I say we, my boyfriend Jake was able to join me a year and a half ago. So just to back up and give the overall timeline, I started making my products in August 2010, so for 7 years. And it took me 4 years before I could quit my day job and do it full time. So for me, August is that anniversary month. I've been full time for 3 years doing what I do now. And my boyfriend Jake was able to quit his job and join me a year and a half ago, and we do it together.
See, and I'm glad you said that, because I think a lot of people, they kind of get into that whole entrepreneur thing, and they're like, well, why isn't this working fast enough? Why am I not able to quit my day job yet? But it took you 4 years to do that.
Yeah. It's probably the number one piece of advice I could give to somebody else is to start slow.
But why start slow?
Well, I took my time. It took time to find my sources. I'm 100% self-taught artist. So to figure out what I'm doing, and it made it a lot less stressful quitting my day job, because I had already I had a reserve of money. I already had established clients. I had more know-how than when I started. And so I had everything in place to confidently quit my day job and feel good about it.
You didn't take out like hundreds of thousands of dollars in loans probably.
When I started, I took a small
little business loan.
I think of $5,000, and I paid that back. And I personally paid it back until when I quit my day job is the first time I started paying myself from the business.
Sure.
But it was way less stressful doing it that way versus just jumping in.
Was it cool to be able to quit your day job?
Yeah.
What was that feeling like?
It was exciting. Even though I knew I was ready, I was still scared. I kind of thought, well, am I ready? Maybe I should have waited a little bit longer. But I definitely am an entrepreneur and have my own motivations, so I wasn't the best employee to other people. I was working at a university, which the job timed out perfectly for me because I got a great discount, so I ended up getting my master's degree through Strayer University. They're mostly an online program, but I also needed to expand out of our 2-bedroom apartment, and I qualified for a home. So we live in Sandy, and we use 2 of the rooms in our home as offices. So that was awesome. That all was able to come about because of my day job. But I was working at work. It wasn't the best thing. Like I said,
you're 24/7 obsessed with passion.
I think a lot of people do, though. You know,
I was
a lot of people work their little side hustles,
making butterfly jewelry at my desk,
but you were also probably doing what you needed to do for your job.
I did. I got everything done. I had worked for that university for 4 years, and so I was pretty efficient at what I did. And so any spare time, I was just making things at my desk, and I knew it's not what I was supposed to be doing.
Did you ever get caught, or were they okay with it? Or
yeah, I know it's not what management wanted me to do. I just was very driven and was really ready to.
Well, and if you were actually
to the next level,
efficient and good at what you did, they probably were like, oh, we don't like it that you're doing that, but you're doing a good job. You're actually fulfilling
everything done. Yeah, I fulfilled everything with my job.
And that's cool that they were like kind of
somewhat flexible. I knew they didn't like it.
Yeah.
Who would? Because it's not showing the best example to other employees.
Right.
Let's talk about some of the products you brought. I know we're doing like radio, right? It's not a very visual thing, but I'll put pictures up of, I'll put pictures up of all your products, obviously, at I Am Salt Lake with this podcast. But you brought some stuff with you, some jewelry and stuff like that. I mean, it's giving me a chance. I've seen your stuff in the booth, but let's talk about this a little bit. I mean, as well as we can, again, for audio's sake.
Yeah, so I brought the nature scene shadow boxes, which incorporate the flowers. I have some shadow boxes where I put quotes with the butterfly, and a really popular one is, "What if I fall? Oh, my darling, what if you fly?" And people really get touched by that because everyone seems to have their own meaning and stories to butterflies that are personal to them. I have some other shadow boxes here of large moths that people can't even imagine because they're bigger than your hand.
It's gorgeous. And it's like a colorful moth for, just a few colors.
Do you do custom orders at all?
I love custom orders because it always challenges me. It makes me do something new, and then I end up making new products. I take that, and my business grows because of it.
So how would that work? Like, let's say, for example, Chrissy earmuffs really quickly. No, I'm kidding. Oh. But like, let's pretend Chrissy wasn't here. I came up to you and I said, I want to give Chrissy a gift for, like, say our anniversary or something. Do I get a pick? Like, what do I get a pick? Like, can I pick what butterflies or what quotes?
Yep.
How does that process work?
So I have a binder full of custom work I've done in the past, which can give you some ideas. And then I have a butterfly catalog and a catalog of my other insects. So you can pick your own butterflies. You tell me kind of your price range and maybe favorite colors. And so I'll make some suggestions based off of what you're looking for. And we just kind of work together. It's a back and forth. And as I'm making custom work, I'm always taking pictures and texting it to the person and say, do you like this? Or I could do it this way, or we can do this. And we really kind of build it together.
What if they live out of state? Believe it or not, we have a lot of listeners even outside of Utah. Can they come to you for a custom order?
Yep. It's a lot of back and forth, but it's through email.
It is possible, sure.
Yeah. And I've even fixed broken shadow boxes. And if, say, someone finds a butterfly that was already dead on the ground or something like that, they've shipped the butterfly to me and I turn it into whatever they want, jewelry or shadow boxes. And that has a lot of meaning too, because they found the butterfly.
How do you ship a butterfly? Like, I mean,
Very
I guess
just in a little jewelry box, and I do my best to fix anything that's broken.
Because I was going to say, the average person like myself, I wouldn't know how to ship. I'm sure you have all the techniques down.
And I help them. I communicate what they need to do. And if it arrives to me with any damage, I'll work around the damage. I'll fix it if I can. You just kind of got to start somewhere.
Yeah, and just see what you can do.
And the best way, again, we'll mention all that when we wrap up here, but the best way probably to contact you is through your website.
Yep.
Which is asananaturalarts.com.
Yes.
Okay. And again, I'll put link with the show notes and we'll mention it again at the end. But
what's the meaning behind Asana?
Yeah.
So Asana is a yoga position. It's when you're kind of in a meditative, still state. I felt that was representative of our still artwork of something that once was living. Yoga has a lot of background in meditation, and people have a lot of personal experiences through yoga and meditation as well. I just felt like it was really fitting of the butterflies that once were living and now they're still, but alive at the same time.
They're kind of zen, like they have the ambiance of life. But
yeah.
That is cool.
And so the other products that I make are the jewelry. I know we skipped over that a little bit.
Yeah.
And the jewelry is really popular. We try and keep everything double-sided. Butterfly wings usually have a different pattern on the back side, so they can essentially wear it both ways and flip it over and see what the other side looks like.
That is rad.
So we protect the butterfly wings in a 2-part epoxy. It's a process, but the end result, the wings are protected, they're durable, waterproof. It's very important that we make durable, quality, long-lasting products.
What I like about these is these make great gifts.
Oh, yeah.
And the price point is great. You can order them right there from the website. So again,
and it's really neat because it's one of those things that you can buy that every piece is unique.
Yeah.
You can't make two of the same thing.
I mean, I'm definitely going to keep these in mind for you, Chrissy, when I'm like, I can't think of anything to get her for Christmas.
You should keep these in mind for me.
Well, yeah, I don't know a single female who doesn't like butterflies.
Exactly. It's true. Even like girls who are not girly girls would want to wear a butterfly.
Or the other insects, the beetles and the moths and stuff.
Huh.
Grasshoppers.
So is this a moth neck? No.
I kind of want to, I still got the holes in my ears. You can
rock some. I saw the plugs that you make.
Yes, I also add butterfly wings to plugs.
Really?
They're gorgeous.
Yes, and I have a big following for that. Because people who, plug jewelry, they really want unique jewelry too. Mm-hmm. And one thing that's fun about buying art is that you could perhaps get something custom made. It's just for you. And so it's really unique.
Makes it personable.
Yes.
What do you do? Like, let's say, this is kind of switching gears a little bit, but with everything you do, you always have to have your creative side on, right? I'm sure you have those moments where you're not feeling very creative. What do you do in those cases? Like you personally, take a day off, or do you have like a little thing you do, or?
Well, because I sell wholesale, online, and I do arts festivals, I don't have a ton of time to create new things.
Okay.
What I wholesale are products I've already made in the past, or I've designed in the past, and then I'm remaking it. And so a lot of my day consists of just making the same products.
So it's just very monotonous. And
it doesn't feel monotonous, but I do wholesale to over 80 shops.
Wow.
So I'm super busy there. And then online, I sell on Amazon is my number one. I do really well on Amazon, especially in the holiday season. And then, of course, there's Etsy, my own website, and eBay. I've done a few other websites, but I've narrowed it down to those 4. So every day I'm fulfilling online orders. I'm doing wholesale orders. I'm preparing for the next art show. I may be working on a custom request, and then I try and create something new in between. And so it's actually a luxury when I just create something new, because I always have ideas in my mind, and it's a matter of finding the time to work it in.
How do you keep up on all the art shows all over? Like, how does one even get into that? Like, how did you even find out about the one in Coeur d'Alene, for example?
I do my research.
Do your research.
And I love talking to other artists, and I keep track of all of that information. So bringing my boyfriend Jake on board, he has his own strong suits that help me a lot. I give him his nickname is Spreadsheet. His past, he's a structural engineer, and so he's all about data and keeping track of everything. So we keep track of our sales and the shows that we went to, and notes about even why we think that show was good or bad, which helps us make decisions in the future. So,
well, that's great. So he really has his head in the kind of the business structural side of it. So you can really just focus on making cool stuff.
Yeah. I'm still the main contact with all the wholesale customers and custom orders and whatnot. He kind of tries to let me, I'm kind of like, I'm the one who started this, which is why I'm here, and it's like my baby.
Sure.
How nice is it to have a partner, though, who's so supportive?
It's
of
awesome.
Everything.
It's so awesome. The best thing about what we do is just the flexibility in schedule, that we still work super hard, and we end up working probably 40 to 50 hours a week, just like everybody else. But it varies on when we work those hours, because sometimes we'll wake up and we want to go kayak today instead. And so we'll just go do that. And in the wintertime, we love to snowboard. And we have a group who does Tear It Up Tuesdays every Tuesday. And we go snowboarding and we grill in the parking lot. It's so much fun. So
that's
the
great,
flexibility to do that.
It gives you like enough downtime to kind of recover yourself and feel fulfilled in other aspects, and then get back to work.
Is it tough though, being your own boss? Like, if you're not working, you're like, oh, I got to go back and work. Or do you know how to let yourself have downtime?
I am very motivated and I love what I do, so it doesn't feel like work. I think I have a balance, but Jake, my boyfriend, has to kind of pull me back a little bit sometimes. He thinks I work a little too much, because I'm into it.
Sure.
And he's into it too. But he will help balance me. And that's another good benefit on having him on board, is we both do it together. So when we're really busy, I've got the help and we do it together. And then we can take our time off together. We enjoy a lot of the same activities. So working isn't a problem for me. It's probably working too much sometimes. But right before a show, like tomorrow, Craft Lake City starts, we have to work really, really hard. So there's times where you work really, really hard.
So you have Craft Lake City. Obviously, this will be up after that, but you're doing the downtown farmer. You don't do the downtown farmers market every week, or?
So we'll be at the downtown farmers market the last 2 weeks of August, 2 times in September and 2 times in October. We're always near the bike valet, so we're always in the same location, but it's not every week because we do shows out of state as well. The rest of our season, I know we're going 2 shows in Nevada, and we're going to Denver and Boise.
Okay, so all over. Back up just a little bit. You mentioned you had your stuff in 80 shops. Is there a list of those shops anywhere?
Not publicly.
Not publicly. I was just curious again for people listening that might
Are any of
live.
them out of state, or are they all local?
They're probably all out of state.
All over. So for the local ones, the Natural History Museum, they're awesome. I love working with them, and they've carried my products for about 3 years. They sell the products very well. And then I'm in the Clark Planetarium. I'm at the Snowbird Gift Shop. And my plug jewelry is at Iris Piercing and Abyss Piercing.
Okay.
And I'm pretty much maxed out because I don't want to be in too many shops. I don't want to oversaturate.
You're only you. You can't, yeah.
I just don't want to saturate the area.
Oh, okay.
And in respect to the gift shops, they're trying to offer something unique. And then I'm in a lot of other natural history museums in the United States. There's one in San Francisco and LA, the one in New York. I'm in a lot of botanical gardens, other piercing studios, garden centers, and I've got like 4 or 5 international shops. There's 2 in Australia, 2 in the Netherlands, and I've sold in Japan a few times.
Wow.
Did you say New Zealand at all?
The Netherlands.
Netherlands? Okay, because I know we have listeners in New
She
Zealand.
said Australia.
Yeah.
Close enough. Take a boat.
Well, maybe our New Zealand listeners can hook you up. Maybe they got some outlets over there. We have a couple people over in New Zealand that listen. Shout out to Nikki and John over there in New Zealand. Let's switch gears a little bit here. Before we completely run out of time, I'd like to find out a little bit more about you. What would you say, like your most memorable concert or sporting event? I picture you probably have a really cool concert that you went to other than a sporting event.
Yeah, there's lots I could share. But
is there one that sticks out a little bit more than others?
Yes. 2 years ago, I was at the Wheelers Farmers Market just for fun. That's the market I like to go to just enjoy myself.
Yeah.
And we love to get biscuits and gravy there. And so we were just sitting there eating our breakfast. And there was a musician who started performing. And man, was she rocking it. It was so awesome. She records her own, she'll start off recording something and then she loops it and adds to the song and the song builds. And it's just so cool.
She from Salt Lake? Yeah?
Yes. So her name is Talia Keys.
Okay. Yeah.
And she is a badass.
Yeah.
And I was so into it. We were supposed to not be at the market for very long. We needed to go somewhere else. And I was just mesmerized. She was rocking it. She was super talented. And the way she just built the song, her own beats, and the power behind her songs. I just love her message. She's really positive. And it was even more cool because at the Wheelers farm, there's animals and sometimes they're just walking around. There was this turkey that was like clucking to her song and she was just kind of rocking,
totally got into
rocking with the turkey. And we were just sitting there watching this and I was astounded. We stayed the whole time. And Jake actually left, went to an ATM, had to get money so we could buy both of her CDs and tip her. And I ended up hiring her to perform in my backyard for my birthday party last year. And we've got something in the works. Actually, I've been working with Talia with my artwork for something coming up. She's really awesome. So you should have her on the show.
Yeah, I'll put a link for her music too up with this with the show notes too, so people can check out her music.
Yeah, but what made that moment special is she's talented alone, but it was unexpected. I'm just sitting there, and then this happened.
And something amazing caught you off guard.
Yeah.
That is always amazing. And you was it cool to be able to actually watch her? It's almost like watching the creative process.
Yeah.
That is so neat.
Yeah. It was cool.
So when you're not making jewelry, you mentioned snowboarding and kayaking. I mean, what other hobbies and interests besides jewelry making?
So we have a dog. He's a border collie. This year we got chickens, and that's been interesting. We also
in a bad way or a good way?
It's just a learning experience. It's totally in a good way. They're really entertaining. They're super cute. I love it. I love everything about it. And we also were gardening, and this year we built our garden in our front yard. We moved it to the front yard. So I'm a little more exposed to my neighbors, and some of our neighbors kind of doubt us in a way. I don't know, but I try and be really positive. Like, yeah, gardening's awesome. Do you want some veggies? But I like bringing the community together, and I have found I talk to my neighbors more because now that they're seeing it grow, they want to know what's going on or what's this plant. And I started growing artichoke and a lot of things I'm not familiar with, but I'm learning and I'm really enjoying gardening, and I'm enjoying trying to share that with my neighbors too.
Do you bring your dog with you everywhere you go when you're traveling?
I try to. Some art festivals don't allow dogs. Actually, most fine arts festivals don't allow dogs.
That sucks.
So we need to leave him at home. But when they do allow dogs, then he comes.
If you could have dinner with anyone you wanted, dead or alive, who would you choose to have dinner with? I know you're like, whoa, where did this question come from?
Probably just my friends.
Just your friends?
Yeah, I like getting together with good vibes, good people, Even new people. I just like meeting new people. So I wouldn't really say anyone specifically.
If you could learn one random skill, a skill you don't have yet, or is there like a skill or something you wanted to learn, but you just haven't gotten around to it?
Definitely. So I love riding my scooter around, and I hate when it breaks and I don't know what to do. I wish I had a little more know-how on fixing small motors. And we're going to get dirt bikes soon. And even if something goes wrong with the car, I like working with my hands. I've mentioned a few other things I've done in the past. I'm a seamstress. I was woodworking in high school. I've built a lot of my own furniture. Now I do my butterfly art. But I just want to do it myself.
Kind of a jack of all trades.
Yeah, it sounds like you're not far off. You're probably going to be fixing engines like in no time.
Thanks for the confidence.
I'll bring my car to you soon, I promise.
So we have a couple of Salt Lake City related questions that we like to ask. I'm sure you've heard it listening to the podcast, but if somebody was visiting Salt Lake for a weekend, is there some things you would recommend them to do or check out, areas of town?
Yeah, there's a million things depending on the time of season, but we love going to the Diamond Fork Hot Springs. It's in Spanish Fork. It's a beautiful hike. We've done it in the spring, summer, and fall. You can do it in the winter. I think you can't park as close. You'd have to snowshoe in, and your hike is a little longer. But it's about, when you're able to park in the parking lot, it's about a 2-mile hike in. It's fairly flat. There's only 600 to 800 feet elevation gain, and the hot springs are awesome.
Check that out, Kristen, if I can get you out hiking.
Have you ever heard of it?
If you can get me out hiking. I haven't. I didn't know that there were springs in Spanish Fork.
Yeah.
So that's awesome.
It's called Diamond Fork Hot Springs.
I've heard of it.
In the Spanish Fork Canyon.
Yeah, I know. I've heard of it.
Definitely
go check that out.
In the springtime, there's a waterfall when there's all that snow melt runoff, and there's actually a hole in the rock that the water goes over, and so you can climb up behind it and stick your head through the hole and through the water. It's really fun.
Cool.
So your head is right through the waterfall. It's really fun.
That sounds really cool. We'll have to go take the kids up there or something like that.
Yeah.
But any favorite local eating spots?
Yes. So I love pupusas.
Okay.
Have you heard of them?
I have heard of them, and I've had them. There was where I used to work, there was a pupusa, a little food truck right on 300 West there.
I know. I've been there.
Yes.
After you helped me pick out my granite slab for my kitchen.
You know the pupusa truck.
I ate at the pupusa truck.
What did you think of those pupusas?
I thought they were good.
Yeah, they're all right.
Yeah.
They're all right.
So the pupuseria that I like to go to is actually only 5 blocks from here. It's called Cafe Guanaco. It's 2700 South, 500 East. And for those who don't know, pupusas is El Salvadorian food.
There's a little laundromat right there, right?
Yes.
In a barber shop.
Yes.
If there's a golf course, kind of somewhat clear. Yeah, I know exactly.
So those are the best pupusas in town.
Okay, well,
I've been to 5 or so different places to get pupusas, and I think those are the best.
Wow, you've tried them
There's a really good one in Provo too.
Well, we don't have to.
Hey, for Provo listeners.
Yeah, I can't remember what it's called. I can't remember.
Google it, Yelp it.
Yeah.
Pupusa.
Anything else you want to mention? Let's run down the list again, the website, contact, and how people can get a hold of you. I mean, I guess there's probably a million more things we could have talked about with your product. But I think we kind of got an idea of who Zell Lee is.
Yeah, I love what I do. I work with butterflies and insects. I apply them in shadow boxes and jewelry. I am interested in other art forms. I'm like going a million miles a minute.
Are you kind of looking at, I would imagine in your type of lifestyle, you're kind of looking at new ways to create and new things. Anything you want to spill there, or is it kind of top secret?
No, I love what my business has accomplished for me, my butterfly business, and I don't intend to grow it. It really serves my boyfriend and I perfectly, that it employs us, and that's very satisfying. I consider it like a recycled art because I've just repurposed something, and I'm really interested in recycled art. When we just finished remodeling our kitchen, we covered our kitchen table in pennies and coated the whole thing in resin. It's beautiful. And we built our own chairs. We made these penny chairs with also plumbing pipe, very like a rustic look. That was fun. I don't know if I'll get into that art form, but I'm definitely interested in other art forms, and recycled type of art like that, pennies or bottle caps.
That's cool.
That is really
Bar
cool.
tops. I have a goal to remake some bars in Salt Lake City. They're bar tops with pennies.
Oh, that would be amazing.
That'd be really cool.
Maybe just hire out my services for other people.
What's your website address again?
AsanaNaturalArts.com.
And again, if you're driving right now, we'll put all the links up with IamSaltLake.com with this episode. Are you on Instagram and Facebook?
Yeah. Instagram's the best way to see the new things that I'm working on. That's where I post a lot of my custom work. So it's fun to follow me.
It's fun to follow and check it out.
I think it's fun.
Send her a message, a note if you need custom work. Check it out. Anything else you want to ask her, Chrissy?
Nope.
All right.
One thing,
I'm just admiring everything.
Thank you. One thing that we're looking forward to as far as the future is we're at a point where we want to give back in a way, and we've been brainstorming how to do that. We've heard talk that Thanksgiving Point was considering building a butterfly attraction, and we're just in the stages of contacting them, and they actually are, and we want to donate and have a specific outdoor section of native host plants for all of the native butterflies like the monarch. And we want to sponsor and promote that and work with more local businesses and get more involved. So we're thinking of ways of how can we give back. And that's one thing that we're hoping to be able to do in the future is work with Thanksgiving Point.
That is really cool.
Right on.
So you're very familiar with like what the butterflies actually need to survive also. Like you're familiar with everything about them.
Basically, It's my job.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love it.
Very cool. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, I have a question.
Oh, yeah.
So how can we help the podcast? If people want to donate, how would we go about doing that?
Well, there's a couple different ways. We have a Patreon, and then we also have if you wanted to do a one-time donation, there's a PayPal button on the website at I Am Salt Lake.
Or just support our sponsors or visit the people.
Support our sponsors.
The people who
share the podcast.
Share their story.
Leave a review on iTunes, wherever,
Yeah.
Great.
So
cool. Well,
so sweet.
there's all kinds of ways to support.
I'm very excited that I was thrilled actually that you had me on here, and I am going to donate, and I'm very grateful for that. I know you recently just started doing this full time yourself, right?
Well, sort of. I've actually, so I do podcast coaching, which I help people with podcasts, get them launched. And then I'm finishing up real estate school to become a realtor.
Awesome.
So that's kind of what I got going on. So I got a few things going on.
Yeah.
Cool. Well,
so
I want to give back, because I really appreciate the podcast too. I've learned a lot about other people and what Salt Lake is all about.
It's so much fun. And I've been stoked to have you on for so long, ever since, I think I discovered you personally last year and haven't been able to stop thinking about it. So this is really exciting.
Cool. Well, thank you. It's been an honor.
You bet. Absolutely. And I always tell people, let's catch up down the road.
Yeah.
See what you're up to. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
You bet. All right. Many thanks again to Zell Lee for coming on the podcast and sharing her story. The links to get in touch with her and find out more about Asana Natural Arts can be found with the show notes for this episode. That's at iamsaltlake.com/291. It's for episode 291. We're going to put all the links right there and go check out her website.
Yeah. And if you get a chance to see her stuff in person too.
Farmers Market, the downtown Farmers Market on Saturdays. I know she mentioned some of the shops that she carries her products in here in Salt Lake City. You have to see this stuff in person. I know she brought a lot of the products here when she came and did the podcast.
And it's hard because we're audio, so it's hard to share
it was
how pretty they are.
Well, this is cool, but I'm not capturing it all on the podcast. And
When you see them in real life, the light reflection and everything off them, so cool.
And I know you went crazy, and didn't you buy some earrings or something?
I kind of went crazy and bought some off her while she was here.
Hey, this past Friday, I had a lot of fun doing a presentation at Bagels and Business on why your business needs a podcast. I know a lot of listeners were there. It was great to see your faces and teach you all about the art of podcasting and why your business needs a podcast. I hope to do more of these in the future. I'll definitely let you know. If you would like me to come and speak at your events, make sure to drop me an email and connect and tell me what you have going on. And if you're ready to launch that podcast, don't forget that you can get a free month at Libsyn.com by using the promo code SALTLAKE. It's all one word, Salt Lake, when you sign up, and you'll get a free month at Libsyn.com. Hey, this episode of the podcast is sponsored by Jed's Barbershop. With 3 locations, you have no reason to not always look your best. Go get a haircut, a beard trim, or even a straight razor shave. Jed's Barbershop is open 7 days a week, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., Saturday 9 to 7, and Sunday 12 to 5. Their newest 3rd location is located at 167 East, 900 South, right next to Randy's Records. They also have a location downtown at 212 South, 700 East, and in Sugar House at 2153 East, 2100 South. No appointment is necessary. Just show up, get a haircut. It's back to school time.
This is a lifesaver for back to school, seriously.
Especially for mothers like yourself.
Yeah, exactly. You're just like, oh crap, you need a haircut before school starts. Run on over there.
Take them in. They're going to make them look sharp. You even get a free soda.
I know. The kids have a great time there too.
Head on over to jedsbarbershop.com for more information. Hey, that's going to do it for this episode. Don't forget to give us a like on Facebook. You can find our Facebook by going to iamsaltlake.com/Facebook. It'll forward you right over there. You all have a great week. Get out and enjoy the city. Support local. Talk to your neighbor.
And good night, Grammy.